Hello, our wonderful and most valued viewers. This is Craig, and we are back again to our program. Today we are discussing a very important topic about counseling and confidentiality. And we have noted even from the research, because my guest today is a researcher, and out of his interaction and counseling work, he has noted, because this is a case study and also justification for our discussion today, that there has been non-utilization of counseling services because of the lack on confidentiality. But before we get into our topic, I want my guest, Mr. Kamore, to introduce himself and letting the viewers just get a glimpse of who is Mr. Kamore. Welcome to our program.
Thank you, Pastor Mutua.
Yeah.
My name is Stephen Kamore, and I am the Program Director, Counseling Research Institute of Kenya. Kamore is a researcher, is an author of very many books, and is also a mentor and a counselor.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
I always appreciate you because of your in-depth understanding of these topics.
Yes.
Especially matters to do with counseling.
Yes.
From our previous discussion, we were discussing also another important topic about church and counseling, creating awareness in the church to embrace counseling as a ministry. And we also agreed from our discussion that you should consider yourself as one of the fivefold members of the ministry. You are coming through the teaching ministry.
Yes.
And through the teaching ministry, because you are fivefold the ministry, and counseling is part of the teaching ministry in the church. And from even our viewers and listeners, they have actually expressed concern about the lack of confidentiality, and this is what is creating the basis of our discussion today, or justifying our discussion today, matters to do with confidentiality. Mr. Kamore,
yes.
Do you think this is an issue that is actually causing disutility, or creating that disutility in the counseling, or making people not utilize the counseling services that are available? What is your view on the matter of, or the issue of confidentiality, the lack of it?
Yes. Thank you so much for that question. I want to be very honest, because the focus of this program is to reach out to the people outside there. And we are trying as much as possible to encourage utilization of counseling services as an intervention measure in promoting our society's mental health and even personal development. And I want to say that from my general observation, I have interacted with quite a number of probably people outside there. Even the literature that probably talks about utilization, about counseling. For our listeners who may not probably be understanding why you're using the word utilize, it is the usage of counseling services. And one thing I have noted generally in our country, there are very many counselors who have been trained, and sometimes you find that people are not going for counseling. And even in the church, you find there are still people committing suicide there. There are people who are breaking their marriages, they are distressed. There are people who are suffering from parental burnout. There are people with issues that are affecting their mental health. And when you ask why is it that they are not going to seek counseling, because with the other time we say that the church is embracing or gradually embracing counseling as a ministry.
Yes.
One of the main reasons why people don't go is the fear of their privileged information being shared out or being revealed to other parties. And in most cases, I've heard people say, the reason why I have come to you is because I know you don't discuss my issues, and once I come to you things to be kept safe. But I want to say this. For those ministers who are also counselors, or for the counselors who are also in the church and also the general community, we are expected to follow some ethical standards. And I want to tell you from general experience, one of the issues that greatly affect utilization of counseling is the element of lack of confidentiality. The clients or people who come for counseling, they have very painful things they want to share. Some of those things are embarrassing, but they are hurting them. Some of them are very private, and therefore when they come to you, they would expect that you are going to help them and probably protect them by protecting or treating their personal information with a lot of private. Yeah. So that's why we are saying that this is a core thing and it is very important. And that's why today we are here to remind our society, to remind the church leaders, anybody who is offering these services. If you want to change our community attitude toward counseling, if we are going to eliminate the stigma associated with counseling, then we must embrace this ethical issue on confidentiality.
So you are saying that it is justified?
Yes.
This discussion is
yes,
justified.
it is justified.
That there has been lack of confidentiality affecting the utilization of this.
Is one of the factors.
One of the factors. There are many other factors.
There could be other factors which we may not be able to discuss
and one
now.
of the ethical requirements
is that there are many others. There are many
so this
others.
is now one of the ethical requirements, confidentiality.
Yes, and to me, it is the core.
It's core.
It is core. It is the pillar of successful counseling ministry.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow, that's powerful, Mr. Kamore. And you have given justification for this discussion today.
Yes.
And just before we proceed on our viewers, there is this scripture in Proverbs 25 and verse 19. If you allow me, I can maybe read from the New King James Version. Confidence in unfaithful man in time of trouble is like a bad tooth and a foot out of joint.
Yes.
You see that even the Bible talks about the need for confidentiality. The lack of it is equated to a man with a bad tooth and a foot out of joint. That if you entrust your secrets to an unfaithful man, it is in the day of trouble. Because Mr. Kamore, I know as a practitioner in this field, people don't come for counseling when things are rosy. They don't come for counseling when they are happy. In most cases, it's when they're in trouble. And so when that confidence is betrayed, it is equated to like a bad tooth and a foot out of joint. What's your thinking on this?
This is a very powerful scripture.
Yes.
And if you look at this scripture, Pastor Mutua, and think about it practically, a counselor or a minister who is giving counseling and cannot keep the secrets of the client, then that is unfaithful counselor, is unfaithful therapist. And we are saying these people are coming to you in times of trouble. And trouble could be many, many things. I have been raped. I have been done so many things. Some of those things are very painful. And therefore, if they come to you and they disclose this information to you, when you disclose it, this is what this verse is saying. The pain in the heart is as painful as a bad tooth. I don't know whether, Pastor Mutu, you have ever had a bad tooth.
Yeah.
You cannot even sleep.
You can't.
So you can imagine how painful it is. And this pain is not down in the tooth. It is in the heart. Have you ever had your foot out of your joint? It is very painful. And therefore, this verse is telling us that lack of confidentiality can be or the breaking of confidentiality as an ethical consideration or value can be very painful to the client. And you can see that pain, nobody would like to be associated with it.
Yeah.
And therefore,
Like
what do people do? What do people do? They withdraw. That's why you can see in the society, people are suffering. They have serious mental health issues, but they are not willing to move out and share these troubles, the pains, because they are fearing to experience that painful, that pain that you experience when you have a bad tooth. And you can see the Bible, although it is using figurative language, it is bringing out the intensity. A bad tooth is very painful.
Exactly.
A foot out of the joint is very painful. So we are telling these people that when you are offering counseling services in the church, in the society, or in the school, one of the key things, if you are going to heal your clients, is being faithful.
Wow.
Be a faithful person who can be trusted with the client's information.
Wow, powerful.
Yes.
And from what you have also explained, it's figurative language. A bad tooth communicates the idea of pain. And also, as well as foot out of joint. But also, when you have a bad tooth, it also disables your ability to speak. Meaning you withdraw. You said you withdraw. And also, a foot out of joint, it also disables your functionality. You are walking. You will not walk to the counselor.
Yes.
And you will also not open up because you have an issue with your tooth. So, Mr. Kamore, now, we see that the issue of the lack of confidentiality is not so much about the client, but about the counselor. Now, do you think this person or this counselor who is not able to keep the secrets of, or to be confidential with the information that is given by the counselor, by the client, is it because they don't have the training, or maybe it's because of personality disorder? Or what do you think? What could be the main cause? Is it because the majority of those people who are getting involved in counseling, our viewers remember we are relating our discussion church-based, even from our previous discussion. This is counseling basically focusing within the church, and we are asking ourselves, and our expert will explain this question. Is it that these people who are breaking this confidentiality of the clients, is it because they are not trained, or personality disorders, or it's just because out of their weaknesses that they are not able to keep people separate?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. And we don't want to bring the notion that people are offering services are not trained. But most likely, if one has gone through a professional training program, then one must be aware of the ethical standards of counseling,
which is confidentiality.
There are many.
One of them is,
and one of them is confidentiality. And therefore, if you have gone for training, whether on certificate or even basic training, or even the empowerment or the basic training, one of the things that is very clear is that counseling is not just a ministry. It is not just a responsibility. It is guided by some ethical standards. And therefore, it could be probably some have gone through other forms. You know, counseling generally, people misunderstood it in various ways. Like now in the church, there is what we call pastoral counseling. And you know, people may emphasize so much on the Bible, and they forget that there are also ethics. So whether it is pastoral counseling, whether it's counseling, psychological counseling, whether it is clinical counseling, the issue of confidentiality.
But the scripture you have learned here is about ethics.
Yes.
Proverbs 29 verse 19.
Yes.
So that means the Bible also speaks of ethics.
Yes, that's
this is an ethical issue.
It's an ethical issue.
Confidence in an unfaithful man in time of trouble
is
like a bad tooth and a foot out. So this is an ethical issue.
That's why this program.
So even in the church you have ethics. Yes. Even in the Bible.
That's why we have brought this this program. Because we want to remind
our viewers.
That's the core objective. That we need to treasure the ethical standards in counseling.
As counselors.
Whether you are doing pastoral counseling, whether you are doing clinical counseling, whether you are doing psychological counseling, whatever you are doing, if it is counseling, then confidentiality is core.
Wow.
And that is the message we are passing. People probably may do it out of ignorance. Ignorance means you don't have the knowledge.
They don't have the knowledge.
But now we are here to tell us that we are not supposed to operate out of ignorance. Because we are asking ourselves, what can we do to encourage the members of the community? We have so many youth who are suffering here. We have even pastors themselves who are suffering. We have members of the church who are suffering. We have marriages that are suffering. We have employees. You know, they are looking for somewhere. And the only way we can be able to create trust is by ensuring these ethical standards of confidentiality. And remember, I'm repeating once again, in my experience, it is core. It's core. It is the key ethical issue. Because, as you are saying, it is very painful. When I share my privileged information with you, then the following day I hear it here and here. It really embarrasses me, and I will not really even have trust with you.
Yeah, you've had maybe some of your clients, or even through books, or just out there, members in churches, they say that what pastor preached on Sunday was about me. Because there's an issue that I went and shared with him in the office, and then on Sunday, I hear it. Now, what do you think of this?
Okay, before I come to that, I think what we are telling, what we are trying to tell our listeners is that when you break confidentiality, when I break confidentiality, like the case now you are saying, either through the pulpit or whatever method we are going to discuss down there, how it is done, it affects the client. And remember, counseling is about the client. And we want to help these clients to heal. We want these clients to adjust in life. We want these clients to grow. And therefore, one thing we must tell the people who are giving these services, whether in the church or in the school, is that when confidentiality is broken, and that's where you are coming from, the kind of a case that you are talking, probably you have in mind, is that the clients are negatively affected. Two, they lose trust. They lose trust on the service provider. They lose trust on you as a counselor. And let me tell you, that's why this man in the Bible is being referred to as unfaithful. He cannot or she cannot be trusted with that privileged information. But let me tell you, if clients cannot trust you as a counselor or as a minister offering counseling services, I can tell you for sure you lose it all. Isn't it? And that is why we are saying, to encourage utilization of counseling services, we are telling our listeners that we must build the trust and encourage people to come to us because they know they are in the safe hands. And therefore, this is the only way to fight, or this is a major way, because there could be others, of fighting what we call stigma associated with the counseling.
I was on this issue.
Yes.
Here is a church. The pastor is preaching there. Because we are addressing our audience who are members of churches.
Yes.
And from our previous discussion, we base it on the church.
Yes.
So I'm also trying to scale down to the church where this is a member, Mr. Kamori. I want you to comment on that.
Yes.
Who, after sharing certain issues with the pastor over the week, then on Sunday, they hear the pastor, that is now the message of the day. Now, what is your take on that?
Well,
how will that affect?
That's what I'm saying now.
Yes.
One, it will affect the church because, one, they will avoid going to the pastor.
Wow, okay.
Do you know why? Because no one would like his privileged information
to be preached
or to be shared in the church.
In the Sunday service.
Two, that's what I was saying. They lose the trust
with the pastor
as a counselor. Or they lose the trust with that person who has, because the person in the church having probably doing the counseling may not necessarily be the pastor. It can also be another counselor in the church. They lose trust. And therefore, what all this is happening is that it will now also make them now to withdraw from seeking those services in the church. And therefore, instead of now removing the stigma I have just talked about, it aggravates the stigma. That's why you hear telling me, why don't you go and share this? I can't go there. My things are personal. I better die with them.
That will be my message. That will be his message.
Yes. So now that will tells you, I cannot trust. I cannot go. And it is now confirming that the stigma is still there.
Wow.
Yes.
What about when people are praying? Because we are within the church. We'll
Yes.
move on to other things that are also subject of our discussion today. Our viewers, we are discussing issues of counseling and confidentiality today.
Yes.
And we're having a wonderful discussion. In case you have joined us now, our guest in our studio is Mr. Kamore, and he's an expert. He's the director of CRIKE. And in the introduction, he told us about what he does and all that. And this program is courtesy of CRIKE, and we are discussing counseling, counseling and confidentiality, and especially focusing the church. From our previous discussion, we focus on church, the need for church to embrace counseling ministry. So, Mr. Kamore, I've had even sometimes, especially, I'm not biased towards women, because even men can also be a victim. When people are making, prayer, like a corporate prayer or a general prayer, you hear them pinpoint, oh Lord, help Mama so and so. These issues she's going through. Her husband left the other day, and maybe she shared in confidentiality, and you hear them through a prayer session. Still the same case. What do you think about that? When
Now, if the person making the prayer
Yes.
is a counselor,
Yes.
I want to say it is ethically wrong.
It is wrong.
Yes, because not everybody in the church who is a counselor. Remember, we are talking about somebody trained in counseling. You don't just become a counselor. You need skills, you need techniques, you need a lot of training, you need knowledge in this particular field. But if I am a counselor and I'm making that public prayer, revealing the cases that Lord, I pray for that
prayer request.
Yeah, I'm imagining like I pray for this young teenager who is pregnant in our church. I have been dealing with his case. Lord have mercy. Already you have broken the ethical standards.
In prayer.
Yeah, in prayer. In other words, now you are telling me what precautions should we take? I think that's where you're heading to. Yeah. Can I tell you 4 things here? That one, we should not probably use material from cases.
Before you come there,
yes,
because that's an area that I want you to go in depth. In this area that regards to prayer, you say that if this person praying is a counselor, I'm assuming the reason why he's given an opportunity to pray is because he's a leader. It's like you are telling me, Mr. Kamore, churches should also train laymen.
Yes.
Listen, ordinary members, the key leaders, departmental leaders, these are women leaders, men leaders, they should be brought together and be also trained as counselors, peer counselors. Do you recommend that? Because the pastor alone may not be able to counsel.
Now, one thing I have noted in my interaction with the churches, and I think I've been offering some solutions, is that the church ministers, they need basic training.
No, I'm assuming the pastor is a trained counselor. That's the assumption. Now we are coming to the support team.
That's what I'm saying.
The women ministry, the men's ministry, the youth ministry. Should you recommend, because you are a trainer, that churches should organize training, not just for, and we are assuming pastors are trained.
That's where I'm coming.
And where they are not trained, they'll call you.
That's where I'm coming in. I was saying, counseling is not a preserve of a group of people. There is even what we call first aid. You may not necessarily be a doctor. There are people we call paraprofessionals.
Yes, paramedics.
Or something. You at least everybody, especially leaders. I'm imagining of this department leader who has gone to console a grieving member of the church and doesn't have at least the basic counseling. And basic counseling is very important. So we are saying those leaders, if the churches can actually take the initiative, we would recommend. And I have seen, and they tell me, Steve, we don't want to become professional counselors. But me, I'm a pastor. And there are people who have been empowering. I am a pastor. I just want to have the basic and know how I can handle my clients. If I reach a level where I cannot be able to handle the issue, I will always refer. But I need the basics. So I would recommend the basic skills to be given to the ministers in the church. Especially those who deals with ministering to the people.
The support team.
The support team.
And any other person in the church who may wish. Because in the church, we also have people who are also working for organizations or companies as managers. And maybe through the church, because their company may not offer those services, through the church they can also.
And you know, when you talk about peer counseling, it's a very strong concept that need to be and practice.
Explain it a bit.
That need to be
to our viewers.
Now, peer counselors, you know, these are members of the church, but they are given basic counseling skills.
Or even among students.
Or even among the students. Or, it could be among even the police office or even workmates.
A cohort,
Yes. So that now they are able to deal with basic issues affecting the members. And let me tell you, that is a very strong approach that can also be embraced. But it is very important, and I would say with confidence, because I have seen it work, and I have seen it you know, being embraced and bringing a lot of transformation in the church. Anybody who is ministered, especially key leaders, who deals with the visitation, dealing with individuals, it is very important for the church at least to organize the basic training for those people, or encourage them to go ahead. You can embrace or get some pre-training on those basic.
So you encourage them. They can call Craig.
Yeah,
and
you can call us.
And any other.
We always do it. We always do it. And know when we are training them.
At a small charge. Or
that one is debatable because you know in the
but
church,
of course it comes with a cost.
It comes
it's
with
not
a cost.
Free.
It is because you're using transport.
Yes.
They'll be using some training materials. So we can say to be complimentary.
It's only free. It's only free on our social media.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Kamara, there is something that has come that has, you know, this is an emerging situation or social development, especially through the social media. Are there cases where people have been leaking information through the social media in the name of posting? Yeah,
but I think
just confidentiality leaked through the social media. Do you think people have been, you know, revealing so much about other people? Maybe they have interacted with a case, or I've even seen people posting groups, photos of people that they had gone to visit, even in hospital.
If it's out of their consent, you know, there is a way clients' information, if they want it to be shared for the purpose of training or so and so on.
My point was, do you think ICT is also changiaring? Is it contributing to
what I would
lack
say,
of confidentiality?
What I would say about
like in a
ICT.
WhatsApp group, someone posting some information that is.
But I think too, I don't want us to lose our focus.
No. Just
listen to
because we are dealing with a generation, Mr. Kamore, that is so much about digital. Anytime they hear of things, do you think that?
But here, for our focus, and that's why I'm saying.
Can you answer my question? Do you think social media is a channel through which confidentiality is being betrayed? Can you answer my question? Because I'm the host today.
What I'm saying is this.
Yes.
A counselor, you know me, I'm not talking about a lay person.
Yes.
And that's why I'm saying people may share, lay people may share their info. Me, I'm talking about a counselor, a minister who is trained in counseling. That cannot happen.
It can't happen.
Yes, it can't happen. And if it happens,
you want to tell me that there has never been leakages even through the social media?
The only cases that probably are presented. You know, there are people who record issues for either for empowerment or that, and it has to be done through the consent of the client. And sometimes even the names and whatever they must be shared, there's a way they do it ethically. But there is no professional counselor who would go and share a case of a client in the social media.
Now, as a counselor, do you ensure that the client, if it is the phone and all that, like if I come to you for counseling session, should I ensure that your phone is not recording me?
I cannot, ethically.
Or maybe I'm not recording you, because there has been cases where I come for counseling and you are the counselor, and then I get information through the phone and then I take it out of context.
Ethically, you're not supposed to record your client without consent. And you can only record a case if the client understands the intention. So what I'm ready to say is that confidentiality, as long as you are trained counselor, it remains confidentiality. No, you have to look for all ways to protect. And that's why I was feeling, because I could see like our program timer is also telling us something.
Now, can you tell us how this confidentiality is broken?
Yes.
How is it broken?
Like now, that's some of the things you are saying here. If I record client's information, and probably probably I don't do, then I share that phone probably with somebody, or I use that story somewhere and the person is known. It can actually be unethical. That is why even when you are recording, you change the names. Probably you can cover if this is audio, visual. You can play. You see that sometimes
make it pseudo,
so that
voice.
the identity of the person at all costs
protected.
is protected.
Like rape cases are being
Yes.
Okay.
And there's no way that one even when you do it that way, the client is not protected. Then the other thing is that people use materials from cases that they are presently calling out. I'm imagining probably in the church, and you are dealing with a marital issue of this Mr. John in the church. And then on Sunday, you are spirit-filled. And then when you are just there, you say, you know the devil is destroying our marriages. Like, Mr. John marriage has been, already you are embarrassing Mr. John. Because now you are going to use issues concerning that in the church. The other way is that people use materials that are similar to their current cases sometimes, and the person who is in the congregation is likely to feel like
they will
is the
relate.
one.
They will relate that
yes,
that information with whatever.
And that's why we always say, even if you have to share anything, then let it not be related to the case that you are dealing with in the church. Another way, probably, some people, when they are talking in the church or when they are handling client issues, they reveal the source of information. Like now, that's why I'm very sensitive when you ask me such questions, because it's like asking me, and then I tell you, this is a case I was dealing with of somebody who is in Karatina or Muranga, and this is a medical doctor probably, or probably a student in Mount Kenya University or something like that. Already I'm mentioning things, and it is very easy to go and identify that particular person. So it is always good not to illustrate, even if you have to bring these issues even in training. Avoid, giving the source of the information. In most cases, when I'm doing my training and my illustrations, I like using things that have been reported in the public forum. Like now you have homicide cases. They are always in the social media. They are always in the newspaper. So that way, it will not look like you are also bringing out the issues, because it will kill the trust. They will say, okay, so we come to you, listen to us. Then when you go out, you use our illustration. You may not even mention the name.
So if I must use a case study, how do I use it without?
It must be just say it's a book from a book.
Our director is
or just give a you just give
almost up.
Yes.
So how
if it's a case study, yes, it's a case study. But it is not an individual.
Okay.
But in most cases, nobody even is interested to hear the case. You can just say, I read this one probably in the newspaper, but let it not be like it is you who extracted that information.
So you make sure the way you communicate,
yes,
even if it's a case study, or you're using that example in a manner that no one will relate it with the issue that you're dealing with.
Yes.
Wow, that is good, Mr. Kamore.
Yes.
And it's always a pleasure to have you.
Yes.
You're so enriched with this information. Do you have any book on this area?
Currently,
any book that is close to what you are
currently what I have, currently I'm just focusing on motivation.
I know you have written so many books
about
parenting,
I've written
working with the boy child,
yes, and all that.
So I think you should write a book on this.
There's one that is coming up.
There's
a book I'm calling Fundamental, the basic fundamental information and skills of counseling. But it is not yet to the publication stage.
Wow.
But I want to tell our listeners that we need to change our perspective about counseling.
Yes.
And for those who are core workers in this ministry
that's
of
your
counseling,
parting shot,
yes,
because our time is
I need to encourage them to embrace confidentiality.
Yes.
If we have to bring people and encourage people to utilize counseling services, the core thing we must do is to embrace confidentiality. We don't want to be those unfaithful men who cause more harm to our clients, who cause more pain to our clients, and you can imagine we become like a bad tooth in their life.
Yes.
Nobody would like to have a bad tooth. That's why sometimes it is plucked out. That's known. So we are telling them that let us embrace confidentiality. And the church ministry is going to become strong, and people are going to have trust. People are going to consume the services, and the clients will benefit and be happy because of the services that I get. But if you break that, then people will continue suffering outside there, and we want to be a magnet that can attract them. Just like the way you feel sick and you rush to the hospital. We want a situation whereby you feel I have a mental health issue and I learn for counseling. Without feeling stigmatized, without having the fear of of your privileged information being shared out. And therefore we must ensure that even the way we keep documents as pastors in the office, they must be locked out.
Okay.
Your office counseling file should not be accessed by anybody. The way we code the information and all that.
Wow.
So we are telling the people confidentiality is the pillar of counseling ministry, not only in the church, but also in school, in even the workplace, and anywhere else where counseling is taken as an intervention to the enhancement of mental health.
Wow, that is good.
Yes.
That confidentiality is a core, is a core ethical issue.
Yeah.
An ethical issue is very core in the ethical practices in this counseling, so that people will not shy off from utilizing this very important service that is available for us, and all of us are supposed to have access to it. Don't die there, our viewers. You can always access. And in case there's been incidences where you've been hurt because of the lack of this confidentiality, please, all counselors are not the same. Maybe it was a slip of the tongue, or something happened that was beyond their control, or something, and maybe they learned later that breaking confidentiality was not right. There are other counselors like Mr. Kamore and others that are not here. You can always approach. So don't die in your problem.
Can we give them the contact?
God bless you so much as we wind up. And there is this scripture that says that the spirit of the prophet is subject to the prophet.
Yes.
Even if you are prophesying, you must also subject your words within you. Make sure you speak the right word within the right context and for the right reasons. So we are winding up our viewers, and we'll be meeting you next time. But before we wind up, we want our guest just to give us his contacts and where we can get him. I know he's so much on the social media, but before we call it off, Mr. Kamore, you can
Yes, so I just want to say that anybody with a question concerning what we have shared today, you can always get me through 0721 34 54 50. You can go to my social media. Stephen Kamore is my Facebook. And you can even listen to many of my videos in Stephen Kamore YouTube. And most you can also visit and follow our Facebook Counseling Research Institute of Kenya Facebook. We are all these videos and others are around there for you. You can always listen to them. And most we encourage you, share with somebody else. The Bible says an iron sharpens an iron. Sitting down with knowledge does not help. We have always said once again and again in this program, information is power. And when it is shared, power is multiplied. So our listeners multiply the power by reaching out to somebody else. Just go there, share that video with a friend, and encourage them to utilize counseling services as an intervention for promoting mental health, which is very important for our happiness.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kamore, for accepting to be here today. You are ready to spend and to be spent.
Yes.
We appreciate you so much for your in-depth understanding of this topic and also for your contribution to humanity. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Karibu tena.
Thank you.
We'll be seeing you soon. Thank you.